Hey, this is Macky, and we're back with another episode. And I still got Attorney Josh Holcomb here. Let me get it over your face, Josh. Oh, say hi. There he is.
Hi,
I'll sit back chilling, Mr. Cool. You got court this week, do you think?
Yes.
You always do, right?
Always do.
Right?
Always do.
So I've had a lot of court where they said, hey, come testify, and then it gets postponed a lot since the New Year's. That happening a lot?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty common. It's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
So whether, there's a lot of hands in the kitchen. So for the purposes of trial, whether it's conflicts with the plaintiff's attorney, the defendant's attorney, the court,
the judge.
So oftentimes judges, just like attorneys are relying on their paralegals. A lot of judges are reliant on their judicial assistants. So if they have particular conflicts, sometimes that creates a situation where the judge really needs them present in order for them to do an effective job in the case. So like I said, a lot of hands in the kitchen. So not uncommon at all for a case to get continued.
So how long have you had Cassie as your paralegal?
So I started working with Cassie at my prior law firm whenever I moved to North Alabama. So that'd been in 2018. And then Cassie joined me whenever I started M&H. So I've known Cassie since 2018.
So I started in business in October 2018. I've known her since the day I started out, pretty much. And she corrects me on a lot of stuff. And
me too.
And like if I forget to send him something, she goes, hey, Macky, you forgot to send this. So she's on everybody. It ain't just me. She keeps you straight.
Yeah,
and the other people y'all are working with and everything.
She sure does.
She stands up at her desk, though.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
I'm like, you want to sit down sometime?
Yeah. So at M&H Legal, everybody has sit-stand desks. And part of the reason why we went with that is because I do a lot of my best thinking on my feet. And so I want to kind of give everybody that opportunity to kind of do the same thing. And I think Cassie leaves hers in a standing position more so than she does in a sitting position. So
every time I've walked in there, she's standing up. So I may have to try that standing desk.
They're great. They're super good. So.
But all right. Yeah, she's awesome. I've worked a lot of paralegals and she seems to be with it, and so she has her stuff together. So, but the topic today is grandparents' rights.
Yep.
So one of the bigger, you ever have a case that bothers you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the time.
All right.
All the time.
Here's one that bothered me a little bit. So we had a lady and her husband adopted a baby out of the hospital. Okay. All right. I don't know if there's an official name for that or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, they adopted this kid, took it home. And I guess is there like I want to say it's like buying a car, it's a human life, but is there like a period where somebody can come forward and say, hey, I'm the parent?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the lady obviously gave up the child. They took this kid home,
sure.
Any baby you're going to get attached to, right?
Sure.
And this guy, I'll call him what he is, meth addict, came out of the woodworks, living with his mama, and said, I'm the father.
Okay.
And just turned it on its head.
Yep.
And said, I want my rights.
Sure.
Okay. Now he is a birth parent, proven through paternity and all that stuff, right?
Has rights. Yeah.
But, some people I'd like to just take them out and whoop them in the ditch.
Sure.
He's one of them, right? Just go do your drugs and leave us alone kind of thing.
Gotcha. Sure.
But the judge, that they have to do their thing, right?
Sure.
And they hired us to go out and prove that he's still living with it. It's easy to prove he don't have a house and showed that he goes out to the bars and stuff and is not serious about this child. He's like 21 or 22. This was a few years back. But they got to have custody, this new parents, but he got custody too. It was weird.
The adoptive parents in this case?
Yeah.
Okay.
They shared custody with this numbskull.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm not sure what's going on with it now, but hopefully he went away.
Sure.
He gets claimed the kid on taxes and some financial incentives to do that, right?
Okay.
So, all right. And plus, I think more of it is his grandparents, his mother wanted a relationship with that kid more than he did. You ever see that before?
Yes. All the time.
Now, is there grandparents' rights in Alabama?
So inherently, no. So there's a path to get rights as a grandparent in the state of Alabama, and that's through our grandparent visitation statute that we have. So the grandparent visitation statute in and of itself has seen changes in Alabama since it was enacted and faces a lot of scrutiny at times. So from a lot of people in the legal community for the reason of whether or not they should be afforded an opportunity to even ask the court to establish any kind of rights as it would relate to a parent's fundamental right to parent their children. So it being a fundamental right, meaning that, the U.S. Constitution doesn't give a parent the right to raise their children. That's a God-given right. It's inherent. You just have it. So.
Okay. Now, we've also had them where the grandparents were watching the kid for years. I'm talking, let's say, 8 years, where they raised this kid from a baby all the way up because the blood parents are gone. They're doing their thing, right?
Yeah, I've seen this.
And they want to adopt this kid. And then out of the woodworks, these parents come up and say, oh, I want a relationship again.
Sure.
Right. Now, if you're on the grandparent side, you'd be like, Judge, tell them to go away kind of thing.
Sure, right. That would be the position you'd want to take.
Right.
Sure.
And I don't know if you can do that or not. Now, does a grandparent in that situation have now this is adoption, so this is different, right? So they can say, hey, I want to adopt this young kid because you got to have a reason to adopt it, right?
Sure. Well, the way that adoption typically works, in my experience, in the fact pattern you're saying right now, if I represent the grandparents, is for, the adoption's in probate court. That's where you deal with that. And for the purposes of probate court, you need either an implied or explicit consent of the parents to the adoption. And if you're attempting to do the adoption and the parents aren't willing to give any kind of explicit consent, then you would actually need to go to juvenile court at that point. So you're going to, in Marshall County, I'll give you that example, probate courts in Guntersville. And if you have parents who aren't willing to consent to the adoption, then you would need to go to Albertville, to our juvenile court, to essentially initiate or participate in an action to terminate the parental rights of the parents.
The real old building in Albertville, right?
So, say what?
That's an old building in Albertville.
Yeah, been there for a long time.
You expect to see Andy Griffith,
Yeah,
in
long
there.
time. Yeah, long time.
It's a neat building, though.
That's where you will find family court in Marshall County.
Yeah,
in Albertville.
I've had to testify over there before.
Yeah.
So, and it's cramped and
it's
not air conditioned well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they've got a little bit better at that as late. So
I've been in there when it's hot, man.
Yeah.
So. And we've also seen it where we've had them come to us and say, hey, look, my son and his wife's going through a divorce. Now his ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife, is not letting us see these kids. We've been in their life since they were born.
Sure.
Do they have a leg to stand on there?
Yeah. So that's kind of a path through the grandparent visitation statute. So, the ending of a marriage that can kind of be your foot in the door to assert some kind of grandparents' rights in that case. So yeah, that's certainly a possible way to do it. Oftentimes the grandparent visitation cases that I've dealt with as of late, I would say it has more so to do with the death of a parent.
Sure.
So, mom passes away, and after mom passes away, then that's oftentimes where you'll see the maternal grandparents in those situations kind of step and say like, hey, we don't think we're going to be able to maintain a relationship with this child under these circumstances. So
we had one where the mother got killed in a car wreck. Now the father was incarcerated for 20 years to do with drugs, right?
Sure.
And he just got out of prison.
Okay.
And he said, hey, I want these kids. Okay. And so we had two lawyers going at it.
Sure.
And he said, I'm clean. I'm a deacon at a church, blah, 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 and all this. So we went out and showed that he wasn't.
Right.
All right. He had he still had his old drug dealing buddies hanging around and all that.
Sure.
So the judge just kind of told him to cram, you know what I mean? So
right.
Now, if he would have proven that if he would have been an upstanding citizen after getting out of jail, had a job and all that, he could have got those kids.
No,
right?
exactly. You got parental rights until a judge tells you don't in those scenarios. So parental rights cases, specifically termination of parental rights cases, are very, very serious because, they are often alluded to as the death penalty of child custody cases. There's probably no more important child custody proceeding than a termination of parental rights because you are literally removing somebody's fundamental right. It's a fundamental right. Again, not guaranteed to you by the Constitution, not guaranteed to you by any kind of Alabama law. It's just a fundamental right that you have.
Society assumes it, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we could say, so grandparents can file to have rights.
Yep.
And then, but the opposition can also say no, right?
Right. And oftentimes what you'll see is in those grandparent visitation rights cases, you have to establish that, and it's oftentimes the hardest hurdle, that this child is going to be harmed or experience some kind of harm if the court doesn't grant these grandparent visitation rights. Mm-hmm. And that harm is often really hard. It's really hard to show sometimes. Mm-hmm. It requires something oftentimes beyond, we just go over to Nana and Papa's house, mm-hmm. Once or twice a month. It does require some of those fact patterns like you alluded to earlier where, Nana and Papa have been the primary caretakers of this child for the last 8 years.
Sure.
This child's zoned to go to school mm-hmm. at grandparents' house. And in terms of a stable, household, mm-hmm. this child would never know one but for Nana and Papa in this situation.
Sure. What about special needs? Does that play a role in some of this stuff too?
Yeah.
That's another factor, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Special needs, certainly so. So right. Yeah, that can affect a case even beyond a child reaching the age of majority. So in Alabama, that's 19. Mm-hmm. So that's a frequently asked question in this line of work is at what age does my child get to decide where they want to live? Mm-hmm. 19. That's the answer.
So you got control of them until they're 19.
Yeah. And then at 19, then they are no longer a minor and then they can decide wherever they want to go. But in special needs cases with children and adults, you'll often see those kind of cases transition over into the probate court mm-hmm. after, the child reaches 19 years of age, mm-hmm. because now you're talking about something completely different than a custody proceeding. You're now talking about, guardianship mm-hmm. at that point. So
you can't just put them out on the street and
that's right.
hope for the best, right?
That's right.
All right. I'm going to pause just a second. Hey, everybody, Macky here. And I just want to talk to you for a minute about M&H Legal Services in North Alabama. I've worked with a lot of law firms over the years, and they are by far the most transparent and most personal set of lawyers you'll ever find. Whether it's family law, including child custody, divorce, prenuptial agreements, adoptions, or you got a personal injury case or a medical malpractice case, they can help you with all that. They are a modern, transparent legal services firm, and they have a team of professionals standing by to help you now. These are the best lawyers I've ever worked with. So if you have a family law issue or you've been injured in a car wreck or a medical malpractice case, give them a call. It's a consultation you can't miss out on. So give them a ring at 256-860-8688 or mhlegalservices.com. They're standing by to help you now. All right, we're shifting gears a little bit here. We were talking about grandparents' rights, and that's a good segue to get into Miranda.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, totally a natural way to get there.
Turn a few chapters over in the law handbook, right? Sure. So, but yeah, we were discussing this before we started recording about a case involving Loretta Carr. All right. Now, it's a weird deal. She was charged with tossing a lady off of a cliff over here at Little River Canyon National Park is the national side, right? We ran tests on it. We investigated. We interviewed people and all this. Now, her daughter alleges that her mother did it, and she turned state evidence and all that stuff. Now, Loretta, she pled guilty to what looked like an Alfred plea, and then she withdrew her plea, so we're probably going to have a trial here, right? She has to get new lawyers, though. So how long does that take?
Sure. Sometimes not long and sometimes a long time.
So a capital case, the judge is going to give those new lawyers time to read up and get their hands around everything, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Because this is a capital case, they were looking for the death penalty, all right? Now, when they interviewed her daughter up in Pennsylvania, she was in jail on another charge, and they went up and talked to her. It was about a 3-hour interrogation, and she asked for a lawyer 5 times. Went kind of like this. I read the transcript. She'd go, I need a lawyer. And the police would be like, we'll get to that later. And then she would start talking like, well, mama did this or whatever, you know what I mean? So she would just keep talking.
Sure.
Now, at what point does the police have to stop recording?
Yeah. So again, you're going to be getting this from family lawyers' perspective. So let's qualify everything I'm going to say with that.
Right.
Certainly.
I would call you if I was in jail.
Sure,
right?
Sure. And I'd appreciate that call. So, I did a little bit of criminal law when I was initially like cutting my teeth in terms of being a lawyer. So that was a lot of that was in South Alabama. But as it concerns how long do the police get to record you, unless my understanding is unless you're sitting in a room with an attorney attempting to engage in what would be privileged conversation, I don't know of anything as I sit here saying that they can't continue to record you. So,
okay. I know that I've come from the MP world in the military, which we have to follow the same rules. I think it depended on who our supervisor was, but most of the time they said, hey, if they say lawyer, just stop.
I think if, I'll give it to you in this perspective. If I was on the prosecutorial side of the law and it was known to me that the other side was asking for an attorney, in the effort to preserve the very good work that my team is doing in prosecuting the case, I wouldn't want to create a situation that would circumvent or make us being able to do our job more complicated or harder. So I think probably the best thing to do in that scenario would be to get somebody a lawyer. But, there's a catch-22 associated with that as well, because oftentimes what you'll see, and you go look at any true crime doc or, pull up whatever Netflix you want to, a lot of times these people will ask for a lawyer. And when they do ask for a lawyer, they'll keep talking, like you were talking about earlier. And if they keep talking, then the law enforcement gets to keep listening.
The government keeps recording, right?
So that's exactly right. Yeah. So if you're going to general legal information, if you're going to ask for a lawyer and you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you should be asking for a lawyer, the best thing to do in that situation is probably just to ask for the lawyer and not say anything.
Keep them living. I've found that people have a hard time shutting up.
Yeah.
So in my career and over the time.
Right. That's not unique to the law either.
Right. They have a hard time. Because you do have you have a fundamental right not to say anything.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Constitutional. Yeah. But I've seen it where I've had people pulled over before.
Yeah.
And they admit the crap that we're not even pulling them over for.
Sure.
Right. I'm like, I want to tell them to shut up, but I'm like, okay, I'll keep writing.
Sure. Most common question asked by law enforcement when you get pulled over, do you know why I pulled you over?
Yeah.
Right.
And they'll just start. It makes somebody with a badge makes them nervous, and they just start admitting all kind of crap.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, that's right. and I'll say this too, as it concerns, your rights under the Fifth Amendment to, not incriminate yourself, to remain silent. That does have applications all the time in family law. It comes up all the time. So, again, you're in a courtroom proceeding. You are under oath whenever you sit in a witness stand, and whether it's the other side's attorney or if it's a DHR lawyer and they ask you a question, that you answering it truthfully has the potential for you to disclose something that can be used against you in a court of law in a criminal proceeding. You certainly have a right to plead the Fifth. But what's an important distinction between criminal court and civil court, and if you're in family court, you are in civil court, is that unlike criminal court, when you plead the Fifth in a civil court case, the trier of fact, in this case, this would be a judge, can infer whatever they want to from you pleading the Fifth. If you assert your Fifth Amendment right in a criminal court proceeding, you can't infer guilt on somebody because they pled the Fifth, because they pled a right that they have access to.
Right.
But in a civil court proceeding, oftentimes people will plead the Fifth as a means of thinking they're protecting themselves by not giving information. In a way, they are protecting themselves for the purposes of their criminal side of their case. You are doing yourself no favors in a case in civil court because the court can infer whatever they want to. As a way of example, you're sitting on a witness stand and the attorney asks you, so, did you kill XYZ ABC person? You don't
have to say anything.
Did you kill these people? And you plead the Fifth. A court is free, while you haven't implicated yourself in any kind of way for a crime. The court is free in the context of your child custody case to infer that you did kill these people and then make such representations accordingly in its order. So again, it's one of those things, it's a slippery slope. You got to be careful with it in the context of a civil case. You'll see oftentimes attorneys will try to get cute with adultery. So we've spoken to that before, that adultery in the state of Alabama is a misdemeanor. It is never prosecuted, but I say never, seldomly prosecuted. I don't know of a case where adultery is ever been prosecuted, but it may be out there somewhere. But questions about adultery will get asked, whether it be through a discovery process or it be in a court of law. And because it is a crime on the books, people will often plead the Fifth. And you think you're playing chess in this scenario as opposed to playing checkers. But what oftentimes people don't understand is, even though you pled the Fifth on a crime that you are more than likely not going to get tried or have charges brought up on anyways. This court is free to infer that you did, in fact, commit adultery in this case. So again, it's something you got to be careful with in terms of asserting any kind of Fifth Amendment right in the context of a civil case. But in the current situation that you're talking about here, best course of action, if I get to pick my make-a-wish facts in that case, I would hope that my client would ask for their lawyer and then close their mouth and just stop talking. So
most of the time they can't help it.
Yeah, can't help themselves.
Now, if you're on this defense and you see these transcripts where that lady's asked for a lawyer, you're going to say, "Hey, judge, this is not usable, right?" Of course.
yeah, for sure.
You're going to bring up everything.
You're going to, that would be a position where, if I remember from criminal procedure correctly from law school, that would be a fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. That's what you would argue there, that essentially, judge, the way that facts or evidence was ascertained was through an unlawful means or in a means that violated your client's constitutional rights.
The judge says yes or no. So.
Yeah, and if a judge agrees with you, then it doesn't matter if they found, the smoking gun, so to speak.
Found out that they shot Kennedy, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. Wouldn't be able to use it in court. Wouldn't be able to use it. So.
All right. You'd think in Alabama, back to the adultery thing, we brought that up. The Baptist capital of the world, basically. Sure. You'd think that adultery get prosecuted more, but I guess, like you said earlier, they would have to have a separate court for just adultery. Because
I mean, yeah, like
it happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would be one of those crimes to where if it was actually criminally prosecuted, our DA's office would not have time to do anything else. So, I mean, there's another overlap case that happens all the time with family law specifically. It's interference with child custody. So, that's also a crime within the state, and it also seldomly ever prosecuted by the state.
Is that where you're not following the visitation orders and all those things?
More so. Yeah. And in often cases it's that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the other parent or the other custodian in these scenarios. It can be just another person who interferes with it in such a way that the judge's order can't be followed. But oftentimes the best path to trying to get your justice out of that would be just filing a contempt action against either side. So,
did they get the judge's arrest? So there's one that's perjury where they lie under oath,
right?
And then you got contempt, right? So perjury, where say a guy just gets up there and lies on the stand in a civil case, a divorce case.
Sure.
You ever seen a judge arrest him? Have him arrested?
I haven't seen a judge from the bench find that perjury has been committed to the extent that somebody got arrested for perjury. But what I have seen is a court hold a party in contempt for the purposes of being in court. Because because perjury in and of itself is a crime, it does require action from the district attorney's office in order to prosecute.
You have to investigate it.
Right, exactly. So to, go through the criminal procedure process of finding a charging document. So, whether
they could just say, I made a mistake.
Yeah,
that could be their defense. So.
Well, mistake or not, perjury is what it is. It's lying under oath. And like I said, I mean, I have seen, punishment come down from the court in the context of civil case, family law case, because it's contempt. And it is. I mean, it's direct contempt. It's happening right in front of the judge.
So the contempt doesn't have to be investigated, right?
No. A court can just find that. So, and judges do up here in North Alabama. So they hold people in contempt.
Lock them up till you fix yourself.
Send them to jail. Yeah, it's 5 days in Alabama. So it's Rule 70A of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure. So if you are found in criminal contempt, then you can be sentenced to 5 days in jail, in your county jail, for each act of contempt.
Explain what contempt would be.
So if the court were to enter an order, and in that order says that the minor child is to go to dad's house every Tuesday night from the time that school lets out until Wednesday morning when kiddo goes back to school. So essentially gives dad an overnight period of visitation. And mom on Tuesdays checks child out of school at, let's say, 2:00 and does this every Tuesday in an effort to circumvent dad being able to get his visitation period during the week. Then that you could bring a petition for a finding of contempt to the court's attention. And when you do, that would be the allegation, right? The allegation would be like, Judge, you've specifically ordered in paragraph 2B3
Mm-hmm.
You said that I get this specific period of visitation. They are willfully depriving me of it. They're doing it intentionally and asking you to enter some kind of sanction against them. So hopefully this doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, that it takes a spanking from the judge. Sometimes it does.
You ever seen a lawyer get arrested?
I have not.
It happens on TV a lot.
Yeah, it happens on TV. It's happened here too. There's a county, again, I'm not going to name any names, but it was pretty popular on social media for a period of time where an attorney was leaving a courthouse with his client. And as he was leaving the courthouse with his client, he had his client's cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what the context of the proceedings happened in court, but apparently there was something on his client's cell phone that law enforcement wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the attorney took his client's cell phone. After he took his client's cell phone, put it in his pocket. And then after he put it in his pocket, law enforcement met this attorney outside of the courthouse and said, we want, first they went to the client, said, we want, Mr. John Doe's cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. John Doe didn't have a cell phone on his person. Later gets found out that it's with the attorney. And they said, we want John Doe's cell phone. And attorney, actually being knowledgeable in the law, is asking for a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
And under that circumstance, they're asking for the cell phone. They don't have a warrant, in which case this attorney is ethically bound to his client with attorney-client privilege, attorney work product doctrine, and other ethical standards that the state bar holds us to.
Mm-hmm.
So the attorney wouldn't give up the cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the attorney went to jail, got arrested for it. And I don't remember exactly how that ended, but my recollection of what happened was that obviously they confiscate the phone subject to the arrest of the attorney. And I don't think anything was capable of being admitted into evidence from anything from the phone. So,
nice, because it's attorney-client.
Yeah, exactly.
Work product.
Fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Come back to that again. Yeah. And if that attorney is smart, I'm putting that. You see a lot of attorney billboards. That's a billboard I'm making.
With handcuffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll go to jail for you. I'll go to jail for you.
That's pretty cool.
And attorneys get put in those situations from time to time, representing their clients, where there's disagreements with the court. There's disagreements with various authoritative bodies in the law, and it's your job. It's your job as your attorney to stand up for your client, and because you do understand this process better than your client does, and that happens often where a judge has been, particularly cross with me, but at the end of the day, just represent my client, and I'm going to represent my client, and if that means that I'm going to make a judge mad, but it's doing what I contend is the right thing to do, then I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to do the right thing to do. And I think the state bar expects us to do that. Again, you do that in a respectful way, but at the same time, we got a job to do.
Yeah. So I think your verbiage says you'll vigorously
work
with your client or whatever. So
zealously.
It's got big words in there. So
yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, we're going to get off here. Thanks again, Josh, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll do it again one day.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
We'll get this put out there, and people can hear the legal from a lawyer, not from me guessing at it, right? Or Chat GPT, whatever.
Yeah, sure. And like I said, if to the extent that your listeners, if they have any questions or anything like that, if they want to leave any of those down in the comments or anything, I'd love to dig into some of that stuff the next time I come. Again, I can't provide anybody any kind of personal direct legal advice. So if anybody needs any legal advice, they need to consult with a lawyer.
They need to send you their credit card.
Yeah, so. maybe.
Send you a check, right?
Yeah, depending on what it is. It doesn't have to be me. It just may need to be a lawyer. But yeah, I know the system's complicated. It is. It's complicated. We all go to law school. We all get this education, and then we're enthralled in it. We're involved with it on a day-to-day basis, but it's complicated. It can be complicated for us too.
And it changes.
It does. So.
But in the mid-roll, we'll have you guys' website and phone number. People can reach out to y'all directly, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
But we'll get off here.
Awesome. Okay.
Have a good day in court, Josh.
All right. Thanks.